There are moments in life when the noise finally fades. The conversations quiet down. The distractions lose their power. The world still spins, but suddenly, you're no longer caught up in its momentum. You're just there. Alone with your thoughts. Alone with your heart. And in that stillness, a certain ache rises. Not loud or dramatic, just steady. A quiet emptiness you can't explain or ignore. You look around, and it seems like everyone else is moving forward. People are winning, building, achieving. Smiling for the cameras. Celebrated for success. But inside you, something feels off. Something feels hollow. It's not that you're ungrateful. It's not that you haven't tried. It's just that everything you thought would fulfill you hasn't. The job didn't fix the void. The relationship didn't silence the doubt. The money, the achievements, the approval, it all added up to something impressive on the outside but still left a question echoing deep within, is this it? That ache you feel, it's not a flaw. It's not weakness. It's not some punishment for failing to keep up. It's a whisper. A sacred, holy whisper from the God who created you. He's been there the whole time. Waiting. Watching. Not condemning you, but calling you. That quiet emptiness is his way of turning down the volume of the world so you can finally hear him speak. And what he's saying is simple, I am enough. Not your money. Not your job. Not your next big opportunity. Not even the people you love most. Because while all those things can bless you, they were never meant to complete you. They were never meant to carry the weight of your soul. Only God can do that. God is not just what's left when everything else falls away. He's not a backup plan. He is the foundation. The beginning and the end. The one who satisfies when nothing else can. The one who restores what you didn't even know was broken. The one who doesn't need perfection to offer peace. So if you feel empty today, don't run from it. Don't numb it. Listen to it. That ache is a divine invitation. A gentle reminder from the one who loves you most, you don't have to keep chasing. You don't have to keep striving. You already have what you need. Because God is enough. Always has been. Always will be. We live in a world that is constantly reaching, constantly climbing, constantly wanting. More success. More likes. More attention. More approval. Our generation has become addicted to the idea that happiness is always just one step away. One more goal, one more promotion, one more follower, one more person saying, you've made it. We scroll through highlight reels of other people's lives, measuring our worth against carefully filtered moments. And everywhere we turn, the message is the same, you're not enough yet. But if you just get this next thing, you will be. So we chase. We hustle. We push ourselves to the limit trying to arrive at a destination that always seems to move further away. But what happens when we finally catch what we've been chasing? You get the job. You sign the deal. You get the recognition, the money, the applause, and yet, you still feel empty. Not in a loud or obvious way. But in a quiet, nagging way. Like something deep inside was promised fulfillment, and that promise was broken. That's the illusion of more. It always overpromises and underdelivers. Because what you were really longing for was never found in the numbers, the awards, or the praise. What your soul was craving was something real. Something eternal. And that cannot be found in anything the world has to offer. The soul doesn't feed on material things. It feeds on eternal things, on truth, on love, on peace that doesn't change with circumstances. And those things don't come from social status or financial security. They come from God. The only source that never runs dry. The only presence that doesn't fade when the applause stops. When the lights go out and the cameras turn off, He is still there. Constant. Steady. Satisfying. The world tells you that you need more to be happy. But God tells you that you need Him to be whole. And once you understand that truth, the pressure to chase fades. The anxiety of not being enough begins to fall away. You realize that contentment isn't about having everything, it's about knowing the one who holds everything. Because no matter how much the world tells you to want, your soul already knows the truth: only God is enough. Life doesn't always make sense. Sometimes it feels like you're doing everything right, staying kind, working hard, keeping the faith, only to watch things fall apart anyway. The diagnosis comes out of nowhere. The job ends without warning. The person you trusted the most walks away. You're left standing in the wreckage of what once was, staring at unanswered prayers and shattered dreams. And in those moments, the questions come fast and heavy: where is God? Why is this happening? Why me? It's human to ask. It's natural to wonder. When life doesn't play fair, it's easy to assume that maybe God has forgotten you, or worse, that He's punishing you. But the truth is much deeper, much more tender. God doesn't always change the situation. He doesn't always stop the storm or rewind the pain. But He never leaves you in it alone. He steps into the fire with you. He walks through the valley beside you. And while the world expects healing to look like escape, God shows you that sometimes, the greatest healing comes through endurance. Through presence. Through knowing that even in your darkest night, you are not abandoned. God may not remove the hardship, but He transforms you within it. When the storm rages, He becomes your peace, not by removing the thunder, but by calming your spirit in the middle of it. When life strips you bare of all your safety nets and illusions of control, He becomes your covering, your shelter, your defender, your quiet strength. And when it feels like you've lost everything, when the world feels cold and silent, that's when you discover something life-changing: God was never gone. He was never distant. He was there all along. Not in the way you expected, but in the way you needed most. His presence doesn't promise ease, but it guarantees endurance. His love doesn't shield you from every loss, but it carries you through it. And His grace doesn't mean you'll never fall, but it means you'll never fall alone. So even when life is unfair, and it will be, God remains faithful. He remains enough. Not just when things are good, but especially when they're not. Because He's not just the God of mountaintops. He's the God of valleys. The God of broken hearts. The God who stays. And that, more than anything, is why He is always enough. Some people meet God at their highest, when life is full, when dreams are alive, when everything seems to be falling into place. But many of us don't find Him in the spotlight. We find Him in the shadows. We meet Him in the silence after the plans have failed, after the doors have closed, after the people we counted on stopped calling. It's in those fragile, raw moments, when life strips away everything we thought we needed, that we begin to see Him clearly. Not as a distant idea, not as a religious concept, but as the only constant in a world that keeps shifting beneath our feet. When you've tried everything, and nothing worked, when you've leaned on everyone, and they walked away, when you've done all you can, and it still wasn't enough, that's when God's voice becomes unmistakable. A whisper that cuts through the chaos, saying, "I never left." He was there when the tears fell in secret. He was there when your strength gave out. He was there when you couldn't explain the pain to anyone, not even yourself. And in that moment of soul-deep emptiness, you realize something powerful: God is not just all you have left, He is all you ever needed. There is something holy about depending on God. It's not weakness. It's not failure. It's the end of pretending and the beginning of peace. It's the place where your striving stops and your surrender begins. You stop trying to hold everything together. You stop trying to fix what only God can heal. And instead, you let go. You trust. Not because the path is clear, but because you've learned to trust the one who leads. And in that surrender, something shifts. Peace settles in, not because life is perfect, but because you finally know who holds your life. Joy begins to return, not because circumstances change, but because your heart has changed. You're no longer clinging to temporary things. You're anchored in the eternal. When God is all you have, it might feel like loss at first. But in time, you'll see, it was the beginning of everything you truly needed. His presence. His strength. His grace. His love. And you'll know with certainty, you were never without. Because He was always enough. One of the most dangerous lies we silently swallow is this: their life is better than mine. It sneaks in when you're scrolling, watching, comparing. You see the polished photos, the perfect families, the exotic vacations, the constant smiles, and something in you starts to shrink. Without even realizing it, you begin to question your own worth, your own progress, your own story. Why don't I have that? What am I doing wrong? Why is my life so ordinary? The world is constantly feeding us images of perfection, carefully edited and filtered to hide the flaws and failures. We end up comparing our real lives to someone else's highlight reel, forgetting that every shining moment we see often has a shadow behind it. The truth is, behind every perfect post, there's a story we don't see. Behind every smile, there may be sorrow. Behind every success, there was struggle. But comparison blinds us. It makes us believe that contentment is something found in what others have, instead of what God has already given us. It convinces us to chase what was never meant for us, to envy what was never ours to carry, and to overlook the beauty of our own journey. It whispers, if only you had what they have, then you'd be happy. But that's a trap, and a deeply unfulfilling one. True contentment doesn't come from having more. It comes from seeing clearly. From recognizing that peace doesn't live in possessions, applause, or perfect timing. It lives in the quiet awareness that God is with you right now. That you are seen, known, and loved, not for what you have, but for who you are in Him. And once you realize that, comparison starts to lose its grip. You stop measuring your life by someone else's standards. You stop racing toward a finish line that isn't yours. And you start resting. Not in what you've earned, but in who God is. Because when your identity is rooted in Christ, you don't need to compete. You don't need to perform. You don't need to prove anything. You can finally breathe. You can finally be. And in that stillness, you'll find the truth you've been aching for: if I have God, I already have enough. Sometimes, without even realizing it, we begin to seek God more for what He can do than for who He is. We pray for open doors, for miracles, for answers. We want the healing, the provision, the breakthrough, and it's not wrong to desire those things. God delights in blessing His children. But the danger lies in placing our hope in His gifts instead of in His presence. Because while God's provision can satisfy for a moment, only His presence can sustain us for a lifetime. We often chase the next blessing, thinking, if I could just get that one thing, then I'll feel secure, then I'll feel whole. But once we receive it, the satisfaction is fleeting. Another need rises. Another desire takes its place. Because our souls were never created to be fulfilled by things. Not even good things. Our souls were created to be filled by God Himself. And when we begin to understand that truth, when we stop seeking His hand and start seeking His heart, everything changes. God is not just a provider. He is the prize. He is the treasure, the reward, the portion our hearts are truly longing for. His presence is not a bonus to the blessings, it is the blessing. When you sit with Him in the quiet, when you hear Him speak peace over your storm, when you feel His nearness in your deepest valley, that's when you understand what it means to be truly rich. Because the world can take everything from you, your money, your plans, your position, but it can't take Him. And if you have Him, you haven't lost anything of eternal value. When you finally realize that God Himself is your portion, you stop chasing what never satisfies. You stop reaching for things that leave you dry. You begin to draw from a deeper well, a well that never runs out, never disappoints, never leaves you empty. That's what His presence is. It's living water. It's peace that doesn't make sense. It's joy that defies circumstances. It's enough, even when nothing else is. So ask God for what you need. He's a good Father who loves to provide. But above all, seek His face. Rest in His presence. Because no blessing, no breakthrough, can ever compare to simply being with Him. His presence is greater than His provision. And once you've tasted it, nothing else will ever satisfy. You may be walking through life with a smile on your face, but a storm in your soul. You may be carrying wounds that no one else can see, silent battles that rage inside you, inner wars you fight alone, scars that never fully healed. The world may think you're fine. You may have learned how to hide the pain, how to keep going when everything inside you is breaking. But let this truth sink in. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. God sees what others miss. He hears the cries you never speak. He knows the weight you carry, and He's not afraid of your brokenness. In fact, God does some of His most beautiful work through broken people. He doesn't look for the flawless. He doesn't need your perfection. He looks for the willing. The surrendered. The ones who say, I can't fix this on my own. Because when you bring your cracks, your mess, your pain to Him, that's when healing begins. That's when His strength meets your weakness. That's when His light starts shining through the places you thought disqualified you. God specializes in taking what's shattered and turning it into something sacred. Your brokenness is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where grace is greater than guilt. Where mercy triumphs over shame. Where the God who created the stars stoops down to heal your heart. He doesn't expect you to have it all together. He's not waiting for you to clean yourself up before coming to Him. He's inviting you to come just as you are. Not so He can shame you, but so He can restore you. His grace is not limited by your past. His mercy is not held back by your mistakes. And His love is not dependent on your performance. It simply is. Constant. Unshakable. Enough. So if you feel broken today, don't hide it. Don't run from it. Bring it to Him. Lay it at His feet. Let Him take the pieces and make something beautiful. Because He is not just the God of the whole, He is the God of the broken. And in your brokenness, you will find the truth your soul has been longing for. His grace is enough. His mercy is enough. He is enough. Let go. Those two words are easy to say, but hard to live. Because if we're honest, most of us are clinging to something. We're clinging to control, trying to manage every detail, every outcome, every possibility. We're clinging to fear that we're not doing enough, not becoming enough, not moving fast enough. We measure our worth by our productivity, our pace, our ability to keep up with the world around us. And somewhere deep inside, we carry the weight of a lie: if I don't hold everything together, everything will fall apart. But the truth is, you were never meant to carry that weight. Let go of the fear that you're falling behind. Let go of the pressure to perform. Let go of the exhausting belief that you have to earn your place in God's love. Because here's the truth that sets you free: God doesn't love a future, polished, better version of you. He loves you, right now. In all your mess. In all your doubt. In all your broken pieces and unfinished chapters. His love doesn't wait until you've figured it all out. His grace doesn't show up once you've cleaned up your act. His presence meets you exactly where you are. You see, God's love isn't based on your goodness. It's based on His faithfulness. His mercy. His heart that never changes. And that's why you can finally rest. That's why you can finally breathe. Not because everything makes sense. Not because you have all the answers. But because you've stopped striving to be enough, and started trusting the one who already is. Letting go isn't giving up. It's surrendering. It's saying, God, I don't have to be in control, because I trust that you are. It's choosing peace over panic. It's releasing the need to prove yourself, and embracing the truth that you're already fully loved. So take the pressure off your shoulders. Take the fear off your heart. You were never created to be your own savior. You were never meant to carry the weight of perfection. That's why grace exists. That's why God came close. So you could finally know, you are held. You are loved. And you are safe to let go, because He is enough. The world is loud. It's always asking for more success, more effort, more achievement. There's always something else you should be doing, somewhere else you should be by now. And if you're not careful, that noise will convince you that you're constantly lacking, that you're always behind, always missing something, always needing to strive harder to prove your worth. But today, right here, choose to pause. Choose to breathe. And choose to believe this simple, life-changing truth: you lack nothing. Not because your life is perfect. Not because you have all the answers. But because you have God. And when God is your portion, you already have everything you truly need. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked by heaven. You are seen. You are held. You are fully known by a God whose love for you is not based on your performance, but on His unshakable promise. When God is your portion, peace becomes your constant companion. Even in chaos. Even in delay. Even in heartbreak. You carry a calm that the world cannot understand, because you're rooted in something deeper than your circumstances. When God is your source, you never run dry. Life may change. People may fail. Plans may crumble. But you remain sustained, not by your own strength, but by His. And when God is your foundation, no storm can destroy you. Yes, the winds will blow. Yes, the rain will fall. But your soul stands firm, anchored in something eternal. The kind of strength that doesn't break under pressure. The kind of hope that doesn't fade in the dark. The kind of love that holds you steady through it all. So don't let the world define what you need. Don't let fear convince you that you're not enough or that God isn't near. You don't need every piece of your life to be in place. You don't need every prayer answered to find peace. You just need this one truth sealed in your heart: God is enough. He always has been. He always will be. And because of that, you lack nothing.